Wouldn't it be nice if there was an account where your contributions were tax deductible and you could pull all that money out absolutely tax-free, especially if you're someone looking to buy a house soon? In this video, we'll break down the first home savings account, how it works, how the taxes work, and how you need to take advantage of this account if you're looking to buy a house in the next year. So Matt, as someone that's looking to buy a house in the next little bit, I know you recently got married and you and your wife are looking to get into the housing market. Myself, I'm in the market, but we've been looking. Affordability is crazy. So for someone like yourself and a lot of you viewers out there looking to buy, talk about affordability and where we're at right now.
We were actually looking to buy a place back in the springtime, and at that point, you know, we were looking at just entry-level condos that were going for 20% over asking.
Crazy.
Which is crazy. Exactly. At the time, it was painful to see, and you know, we had low interest rates, which is good, but with those costs, it was too much to stomach at the time. So we decided just to step back and kind of reevaluate. But even now, we've seen, you know, housing costs come down, but interest rates have gone through the roof, as everyone's well aware of. So
you're paying less for a house now, but because of interest rates, you're paying much more for your mortgage, so your out-of-pocket costs are the same.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating. It's like, yeah, housing prices finally come down, and then you get hit with the interest rates, which is, yeah, I mean, there's 6 one, half dozen other, like, which one would you rather have? But at least now, yes, your costs go up, prices are down, but when prices are going, or houses are going for 20% over ask, that's got to be frustrating too, because you get kind of emotionally attached. I know us buying properties previously, you get emotionally attached to the property, and then it's like you offer a great offer and then you still don't get it.
It was difficult to, you know, see the listing price and then hear what it actually went for, and much higher than the offer we put in, just because that's what it was valued at according to the market. So it was crazy.
And now those people are down $20,000, $30,000, $100,000 or more.
Exactly.
They may have locked in a low mortgage rate if they did a fixed rate, but the value of the property is probably a lot less than what they paid for it 6 to 8 to 10 months ago.
Yeah, that's the one challenge too. You know, the value of the property's gone down, and overall, like, they're gonna lock in a higher interest rate later on, which probably puts them in a worse position than just holding out for the time being as well.
Absolutely. So Matt, I know CMHC they looked at 30-40% roughly of income to use for housing. And I know that's not the case right now, especially in Toronto, Vancouver. Maybe talk through those numbers and where we stand right now.
Yeah, so right now, you know, as CMHC recommends 30 to 40%, we're seeing a lot higher than that. So actually 40% of Canadians pay more than that out of their monthly pocket for housing. And it's hard to stomach. Yeah, it's a lot higher than, you know, what's recommended to be, you know, a safe number. It's, you know, looking more in the 60 to 70% range. In some places, you know, Toronto, Vancouver, urban areas, upwards of 90% of monthly income is going towards
food. Like, how do you afford food and just living and doing other stuff, right? Like,
exactly.
You're going into debt just to live almost. So, Matt, when we talk about down payment for a house, again, we'll break down the FSHA here in a second, but how much should you have for a down payment? What do you recommend? Like, as a financial planner, like, there's two parts of it. There's you as a home purchaser, and there's you as a financial planner. So, as a financial planner, how should people watching this video that are looking to get into a house, whether it's a first house or second or third, doesn't really matter, how much of a down payment ideally should you have, or how should you view that?
Yeah, so ideally 20% is kind of the minimum you want to be looking at. Obviously, a higher down payment means lower mortgage payments. Mm-hmm. You know, you're paying more upfront and less ongoing. There's the option to decrease that all the way down to 5%, and that's insurance backed. It's not right for everyone. It can be right if it's that position you're in.
Gets in the market.
Exactly, but you know, it basically puts you in the same position as someone who just paid more for their down payments in the first place.
Yeah. And I guess you got to look at, like, if you're someone that's renting and you're looking to buy and you only have that 5% down, look at your cash flow, right? If you can lock into a mortgage for 5 years or maybe even a bit longer, and your mortgage payments are the same as your rent, and then you have ownership in a property, like, all these factors come into it. And I know a lot of people, we went and visited family back in a few months ago in Alberta, and they're trying to, like, drag us out to Alberta. And it's crazy. There's parts of Canada that, you know, parts of the world that are much cheaper to live in. And we do find, like, being in just outside Vancouver here, a lot of people, it used to be like people would move from, you know, Vancouver to Langley to Abbotsford and kind of move further east. Now they're moving, like, to Alberta or further. So people are moving away. And that, again, like, when you look at affordability, down payment, how do we get into the housing market, it might not be in the market you're in too. And that's something to consider. Like, is there job opportunity, people working from home? We live in a world now where you can kind of expand a little bit, where you're not like stuck of, okay, I grew up in Langley, I've always lived here, you know, the in-laws are here, like for you, right? And it's like, maybe we have to look further out. And I think a lot of people are in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, if you look in the Lower Mainland here, Vancouver area, for a condo, $500,000. If you've got your 20% down payment, it's $100,000 still. It's a lot of money.
It's crazy.
So I mean, not many people can save up for that. Yeah. So that's, I think, a big reason too why we see, you know, people holding off on family time and really just like starting their families because they're saving up for an expensive future.
So Matt, let's talk about the FHSA, the First Home Savings Account, which all of you probably came to this video to talk about. And obviously it's a very powerful tool. This is similar to what they had back in the 70s and 80s. It's essentially in place to help first-time home buyers save up, build that down payment, and it's a bit unique. So maybe talk about it and talk about how you're going to use it, and B, how you recommend all of our viewers to use it as well.
Yeah, so it's actually a great tool for saving for your first home. You know, you have the ability to save $8,000 a year into an account, and it becomes tax deductible.
So like an RRSP.
Exactly.
It's the exact same as putting in an RRSP.
Yeah. There's a couple different key things though. So ongoing, every person, no matter who you are, can have $8,000 into this, as long as you're saving for your first time home. The one downside is if you don't utilize the $8,000, you lose it. So you can only carry forward $8,000 at a time. So say, you know, the account opens up next year or this year, I can put $8,000 in. If I decide not to and I hold off, next year I can put $16,000 in. But that's the most I'll ever be able to do. I can only have up to, you know, $16,000 of room at a time.
Contribution. If you didn't do 2023 or 2024, in 2025, you couldn't do 24,000, you'd be capped at that 16.
Exactly, yeah. So it's actually a great account to utilize early on and earlier as possible because you're able to receive the tax deduction. And the next piece of this puzzle is, you know, the FHSA grows tax-free. So exactly like a tax-free savings account, whatever you're investing in there, you can earn 100% growth, and it's completely tax-free on withdrawals. It's a really big advantage to that.
TFSA on steroids.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's
tax advantage and tax deferred.
For a lot of you watching this video, you might think that's great, but I don't have $8,000 because I just don't have $8,000. Like, cost of living is just expensive. And I think this is where you need to lean on parents, grandparents, people around you. Say like, look, if you want to help us out, this is a great tool. Like, start giving. Like, a lot of parents, like, we do a lot of financial plans for older people that are close to or into retirement, and they talk a lot about, like, we need to help our kids because it's getting so expensive. And so instead of parents giving a big lump sum, 50, 100, whatever the number is, you know, this is a better way. Like, every year have your parents help you out with 8,000 or a part of that, $1,000, whatever it is. But it might be a good way to kind of more of an ongoing system, so that when it's time to come, they've helped you along the way, you've gotten the tax break, and now you're pulling that money out tax-free. And then Matt, another question I would have is, okay, I've built up, or let's say you build up this FHSA and you never use it.
Yeah.
Then what happens to it?
This is actually something you're able just to roll over to your RRSP. So in a sense, it acts the same way as an RRSP, meaning that you put money in, you receive the tax credit, and say you never use it. Well, if you have the room in your RRSP, you can roll it into there. So
when you put money into an FHSA originally, you don't get the tax, or it doesn't burn your RRSP room. But correct. If you need to convert it later to an RRSP because you don't buy a home, then it would burn your room.
Yeah, that's
essentially it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as qualification for a first time home buyer, it's not necessarily you've never owned a home before. It's just you've never owned a home in the last 4 years, right? So it could be someone, and we've had some family members like this in my family where they've owned a home, then they didn't for a long time, and then they rebought. So you could be 60 years old watching this video, could have owned 10 homes in the past or 50 homes, and still qualify for this account. So that's important to note as well. It's just if you haven't owned a home in the last 4 years, so maybe you're selling your home right now and you have no plans to buy a home for a while, you could start building up this account. And if you never buy a home, if you keep renting or whatever it is, you can just roll it into your RSP as well. So a lot more people qualify for this account than maybe people are aware of. Like, people think, this is for like a 20-year-old kid that's just saving up. And it's like, this could be for anyone at any age, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a couple limitations. Just like in RRSP, you actually have to withdraw the money out of there by age 71.
Okay.
But other than that, there's really no limitation on the age.
Yeah. So if you're looking for more information about like how to save, how to build wealth, how to do all of this stuff we're talking about and more, we've actually built a course for it. It's called the Masterclass. Link below, and there is a discount code for $100 off that course. So click the link below, use the coupon code, and we'll see you in the course. Thanks for joining us today. See you in the next one.